Right now, is money important to you?
Brother, money hasn't been important to me since I had 80 grand in the bank. Because I looked at 80 grand in the bank and I looked at how much I was spending. I said, okay, I have 6 months of expenses. Yeah. And I was like, that's enough for me to turn my life around. So ever since I had 80 grand in the bank account, mentally nothing's changed except I need to become better. I need to become better. I need to become better.
And how do you do that? Someone watching this, how does a kid watching this, how do they get better? What do they do? Step one, is it money? Is it?
It's brother, it's your mind. It's like, how do you think about yourself?
Yeah.
Right? When you go and you eat McDonald's, do you eat McDonald's understanding that the reason you're eating McDonald's is because you've been conditioned to eat McDonald's like a peasant? Or do you understand and have enough self-worth, right, to be like, I'm not gonna fill my body with shit? So what I've come to realize is a lot of people are forcing themselves to do good things. They're forcing themselves to get educated. They're forcing themselves to train. They're forcing themselves to go out and have conversations with people, or enjoy the sunlight, or exercise, or have a healthy routine, instead of becoming the type of individual that enjoys those things. And the way that you become the individual that actually enjoys these things that are healthy is by realizing that all of these things will lead you to making more money, that all these things will lead you to finding better relationships, to being more happy, to being a better rounded individual. So instead of forcing yourself to get educated, instead of forcing yourself to eat healthy, ask yourself, why is it that I don't enjoy these things?
Yeah.
And answering that question is the most important thing, because you need to address that. Like, you not exercising is like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
You're the problem.
Yeah. Like, what is wrong with you here that is telling you, nah?
Yeah, why am I not doing it?
And that's the question, is because if not, you're gonna be the guy that's always fighting against your mind. You want your mind to be on your side.
I heard you say
need to
this.
train it.
You were saying that if you're not successful, you are the problem.
100%.
If you're a failure, you're the problem. So do you stick by that? Like,
I mean, the life that you have is the life that you chose.
That's deep. That is.
Like, you are today here right now, brother, because you said, I want to be here.
There's no other person that can do it.
Nobody. But the problem, you know what it is people are afraid of assuming responsibility for their actions. Successful people will tell you that they're self-made. Unsuccessful people won't. But they're both self-made.
You're right. People that fail because of themselves. First of all, I'll say, what's your opinion on the schooling system right now?
I mean, brother, you just have to look at the outcome. Like, what is the type of product that's coming out of the school system, right? What is the outcome of this machine that's coming out? Dumb f***s. That's what's coming out. So you need to look at the input of information that people are receiving, and it's not quality information. It's information that's designed to keep people employed, keep people weak, keep people stupid. That's why when you start school, what does your first grade teacher ask you? What is your dream job? Not what is your dream? Not what do you want to do in life? What do you want to achieve in life? What countries do you want to visit? No, what is your dream job?
Yeah, I never
what
thought
type of
about
cog
that.
are you going to be in the fucking machine when you grow up? From day one, you're being programmed to be a bot.
Damn, I never thought about it like that. You're right.
But people don't think about it. That's the thing, is they just take, oh, well, what's your dream job? Well, I'm going to be an astronaut.
Yeah, that's like the typical thing, right? I want to be a
What does that mean,
scientist.
bro? Come on.
Damn, but what age did you start realizing that? Was there like
From the beginning, dude, I saw my teacher driving with a shitty car, overweight, and I'm like, these are the people that I'm receiving my source of like information from. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. All these rich people out here, what do they know?
Yeah.
Like, what do they know? How are these guys printing money out of thin air? And all these people that I know that are telling me that they know how life works are slaving away trying to figure out how to get by.
Yeah.
What is the disconnect? And that's the disconnect that I had to come to realize. And none of it is taught in the school system. It's left outside of it intentionally. Why? Because the less you know, well, the less you know. So you need information in order to combat ignorance. And the problem is people cannot combat ignorance because they are ignorant. So how do you get educated? You need to study what rich people and successful people study. They don't study what you study. They're not out here studying the history of civil war and who did this and who did that. No, they're studying what is applicable and evergreen. For example, finances, arithmetic, logic, grammar, persuasion, leadership, right? These are essential skills. How to dialogue with another person, how to sell your product, things that people aren't taught. Those skill sets are what people that understand how the game is played are learning.
Yeah.
So once you understand that, for example, an essentials class that they teach at these elite schools is logic. They teach you how to think. Tell me,
what schools are there? Like, what
tell me a class that teaches you how to think in school, that it tells you, hey, this is the thinking methodology that we're going to utilize.
Yeah, there's none.
They don't even teach you how to study.
Yeah.
What is to study?
Read
Memorizing
memorize a book, yeah.
And that's all people do. People go to a stoplight. I'll give you another example. This is how automated people are, because that's what they teach people to be, is automated. Today, the stoplight was broken, and it was just frozen in red for like 5 minutes. Every other stoplight on the four-way street was going. There's 2-3 cars in front of me, and they wouldn't move.
Yeah.
If the light did not turn green, even if the other places were stopped for 5-10 minutes, they wouldn't move. I had to get out of the car, knock on the window, and be like, guys, you can go. The light is broken. So people are in such automation that if they do not follow the programming or the book, their minds break because they don't think, right? So that's what the school system says.
They're a slave to their own mind.
Do this or you're a failure. Do it this way or you're a failure. So people fear leaving the box. People fear being outside of the status quo or outside of what's comfortable, outside of what's normal. And it manifests in every area of life in a very simple way. Like people standing and waiting for the fucking light for 5 to 10 minutes because the light doesn't change colors. Think about how stupid you have to be, dude. Think about how stupid you have to be to stand in line for 4 hours voting as if your vote matters, being an autopilot because the news told you, and then you wear a sticker that says, I voted. In what world? In a world of robots and automation and systemization, which I understand. If you want to work in society, you need that. The school system isn't training people to work in units. Everybody's working individually, but then the people that run the game and are writing your school curriculums, they're working in units.
Yeah.
So they're literally telling you what not to do.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, don't do this. It's not good for you. And that's exactly what they're doing. And then they're telling you, do this. This is good for you. And that's what they're not doing. Do you think these motherfuckers wore masks when they were flying on private jets? Brother, get woke. It wasn't working in that way.
I want to move on to the government because that's a crazy thing that happened. Obviously, the past few years, you've seen people come back governments and people are, I think, getting a bit more woke. I mean, I don't know necessarily how woke, but what's your opinion on the government right now? Are we like?
I have no opinion on governments because governments, like I told you, are just comprised of big business. Whoever has the dollar to pay for the seat is the one that will get it. It's worked the same way, always and forever, brother. This idea of democracy is a new concept. This idea of freedom is a new concept. It didn't exist prior to America. This idea of people having natural rights to freedom of speech and things like this, it didn't exist. It's a new concept and it's going away fast. Forget who said it. It was a famous thinker. People can look it up and they can quote me. But he says, democracy is of the people and for the people.
Yeah.
But the people are stupid. So it doesn't matter how much freedom of choice you give people.
Yeah.
You begin to realize that people will always choose bad shit. That's why the people that run the game realize that they can perpetrate human rights like they did over the last couple of years and get away with it because people are so distracted that they're already focusing on what Kim Kardashian is wearing on her next photo and they don't realize that they just spent the last 3 years fucking locked up.
Damn. And I want to get on to something that you speak a lot about. It's BlackRock. Is this like the people running the world? Like,
I wouldn't say that they're the people running the world, but I mean, when you control $13 trillion in assets and you have a say at the table of a lot of companies, it's pretty powerful. So when you're in a situation where, you know, you're running funds basically that represent the entirety of a nation, like BlackRock is, which all it is an investment vehicle, somebody's making those investment decisions and somebody's sitting at those tables when you own equity, right? And representing a fund like BlackRock.
Yeah.
That has a real world impact. So when you see a lot of these companies coming and working together, go and just look at the shareholders and ask yourself, if the shareholders are the same, right? And all these companies are different, do we actually have freedom? Because the logo is different.
But it's the same people.
But it's the same people. So what's the difference? So people buy into this bullshit. They do the same thing with Coca-Cola products. They do the same thing with Pepsi products, which is what? They think that they have choice, but they don't, because at the end of the day, it's just the same thing packaged in a different format.
Because I think it's like 90% of the biggest brands are owned by like 12 companies or something.
Yeah, I mean, just look at how much Nestle owns. Just pull up a chart right now. Go
they
on
own
Google.
Like all the food products.
Yeah, all the food products. Just type Nestle food products. Then go on Amazon. Amazon products or Amazon companies owned. Amazon doesn't just own the website Amazon.com. They own IMDb, which has the ranking of all the movies. So now that they can rank all of their movies, they have Amazon AWS, so they run all the servers. They had I think $500 million contract with the CIA to be running the servers for the CIA. So now you have a private company that hosts the private information of the American people. Like, bro, this shit's crazy out here, dude. And it's like, it's not just one isolated case. It happens at all times in all places. So the entire premise of this conversation is like, okay, so now I know this shit. What about it? It's just be alert. Be alert that the things that are happening around you aren't just chance. They're cause and effect. They're caused by people. And you need to understand these things so that you can position yourself in a way to take advantage of it. So over the last couple of years, the US dollar has gone on a printing spree, whereby half of the dollars that are currently in circulation were printed over the last 72 months.
That's a half the dollars that have ever existed.
Yeah, and the reason that this is an issue is because the devaluation of the currency is the next step in order to make sure that the United States crumbles. The reason the United States today has such a force when it comes to their opinion and why their opinion is regarded so highly. It's not because their opinion is right or because their opinion is the best. It's because if you don't listen to what they say, what happens? They sanction your money. They sanction your ability to do commerce. They fuck you up financially. So all these countries that are not part of BRICS, that are now moving away from their dependence of the dollar, are doing it for one single reason. They do not want the weaponization of finance, right? So you have India, you have China, you have Russia, you have South Africa, now you have Saudi Arabia. They're just putting the middle finger up to America and being like, all right, you don't let us do what we want to do, fuck it, we'll compete. So now what you're seeing with the US dollar is a lot of internal wars happening, a lot of these policies that are taking place. You can imagine, you can best believe that it's a lot of foreign powers involved in the decision making to destroy America from within. And like every other nation, like any other empire, they all have seasons, right? But if you look at the Roman Empire, brother, the season in which the Empire of Rome began to fall was the season when they began to print more coins with metal than with gold. Because back in the day, what they would do is they would have their gold coins and their silver coins, and that's what they were used for measurements.
Yeah.
But what would happen if there wasn't enough gold coming in circulation or not enough silver? They would dilute it with metal or iron ore.
Oh.
So they were diluting and causing what? Inflation.
And that's what's happening with the money. They're printing more and
Exactly.
more.
So they did the exact same thing. So as the resources became scarce, they introduced artificial inflation to what? Bring in more liquidity, but the liquidity was backed by nothing. So now the Roman Empire has these coins that are supposed to represent gold and silver, but are actually iron ore or metal. And as soon as that took place, the devaluation happened, Rome fell. So we're facing that stage. I don't know how long it goes. I don't know what that means because...
You think the dollar is going to crumble?
Yes and no. It's a tough conversation. It's a tough conversation because the United States is the military superpower of the world. They can bully their way to the top at any cost, and they're willing to do it. I mean, look at how they treated the entire situation with Gaddafi, right? Gaddafi wanted to introduce the gold dinar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, his own currency, right?
And basically he wanted to create a Pan-African currency that was backed by gold, which meant that now the African countries would not have to be dependent on central banks for a currency. The United States comes in and says, hey, in the name of democracy and freedom, like, let me come in. And a few years later, that currency is not in circulation anymore. So once you start playing with the monetary supply and you start playing the finance game, it's quite the mafia. It's people are willing to cut heads for that.
Do you think this was like a planned attack from other nations?
Warfare is taking place at all times. There is a saying by Sun Tzu in The Art of War. He says, the art of war is the art of deception. He doesn't say it's the art of fighting. He says it's the art of deception. So if you want to conquer a nation, it's the easiest way to conquer a nation is without any casualties, both financial and in human capital and resource, because it's very expensive to rebuild those things. So what happens? Now you're in a situation where it's easier to deceive people from within and collapse something from within than to destroy it because it requires too many resources. What do you think people are actually going to be out here dropping nuclear bombs, dude? Like, come on, get woke. When I tell you, brother, I'm one of these individuals on the internet that doesn't actually spend time on the internet. So like, I don't know what's going on. I don't care. Like, I need to figure out how can I do 100 push-ups in a row?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know that sounds insane when the world's collapsing, but if the world's getting truly, bro, what can we do about it?
Nothing.
What are you going to do? Complain on Twitter about the Federal Reserve? You know what I mean? No, I need to focus on how can I get stronger, better, more developed. People are like, what is he talking about, push-ups? Push-ups is just a philosophical example of pursuing the next thing in your life to develop into a better person.
Yeah.
I'm just focused on that all day. I'm focused on like, how do I make sure my eating patterns are good? How do I make sure I don't shove my face with Twinkies? How do I make sure I understand what my rights are in this country?
Yeah.
What do you think about Johnny Depp? You know, you think I'm worried about somebody else?
Johnny Depp, his case.
Never, bro, never. So I'm just focused on me and G leveling up, focused on my own game, focused on my own lane, and hopefully it inspires a few people along the way.